The dawn of civilization. Primitive. Dangerous. Exciting. The handwriting is on the wall. If the human race is ever going to amount to anything, it needs
the most civilized caveman I have ever seen.
Look who's come out of his cave.
Hey everyone, this is another episode of the CDM podcast series. Today we have the legendary Tommy Stewart in the studio with us. Thanks for coming on, and do you want to quickly just tell people a little bit about yourself if they might not be familiar with your music?
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Let's see, me going back a little bit about my music. I'm most known, I think, in the older days as for being the bassist of Hallows Eve, which was on Metal Blade Records. Did 3 albums most people like that were Tales of Terror, Death and Insanity, Monument. We actually did 6 albums, basically. I've been playing music my whole life since I was a little boy. And here lately, fast forward a good bit, and I've put out albums with bands called Bludy Gyres, Negative Wall, and lately Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf. I shouldn't say lately. This has really been going on for years. And I also have a studio that I call Blue Ogre Noise Lab, and I've done a lot of done some production and stuff in there. And also I have a label that I'm very excited about called Black Doomba Records, and we're in our 5th year. And it mainly concentrates on Doom albums and vinyl releases mainly. I do CD too, but I'm more excited about the vinyl. And that's pretty much, and here we are today.
Yeah, that's a lot to have under the belt. Definitely, I think different people will definitely know different things to be involved with. Like you said, I think a lot of people would know you for Hallows Eve, but I mean, Black Doomba's been doing really well these last few years. I think a lot of people are very familiar with what you've been putting out.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm excited about my own band as well, Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf, but
Yes.
It's almost like that's just something going on. We run around and tour, and I try to set up oh boy, I'm getting ahead of myself. In Black Doomba Records, which seems to be getting a pretty good thumbs up from people. Mm-hmm. I'm almost more excited about that than I am even making music. I have to stop doing it to make the music, so here and there. But what's cool about it, so I began to realize I've been around in the music biz and in general for about 4 decades, and I began to realize that I was, helping people. People were asking me, actually contacting me and saying, can I pick your brain about this? Can you give me any help? Can you put me in touch with so-and-so? And I said, I really do have a lot to offer people. And I've done, a lot of music of my own, but I thought perhaps I can kind of pay it back. And I'm a fan of music too, a patron of sorts now, because I can help these bands using my experience. And I've gone through all these steps and plateaus of making my own mistakes, challenges, overcoming them. And finally, I'm like, I think there's a certain level of bandhood that I can come in. If I can step in, I can take them from the level they're at to a better, or their next level.
Right. So you survive some sort
then maybe they can fly from me to go to something major or whatever. But I think I'm sort of like, I believe I can do it's sort of like a minor league almost for me.
Yeah, you know what? I've heard people call labels like yours tastemaker. It's like you're the person that picks bands that are going to be big type thing, and you can see something in them and you put them together. And then a lot of the time, like you said, if they move on to something bigger and better, then that's what you want for them. So yeah, I mean, that's just one term I've heard thrown around, but it makes sense.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I kind of like that, tastemaker. I'm not sure if my taste is everybody's, but I decided to hone it down to when I started the label. This is its 5th year. When I started the label, I decided to do a couple of things. One was to pick a niche, keep it in that genre. And everybody's like, well, don't you want to grow? And I go, kind of not. I want to concentrate on one thing and be laser beam focused on that. Also, I'm only one person. Mm-hmm. I have to write my own music, rehearse my own band, go on tour. I have to get business for my studio and run a label, which means that I'm kind of like in 8 other bands at any given time too.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing a lot of work for them. So as to not overburden myself, I only take about 4 bands a year. That's sort of my target.
I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah,
I think
so they can be in seasons. They're sort of like 3-month seasons with them. They're going to need to come in. There's going to be in a nutshell, there's going to be a single, a couple of weeks later, a video, maybe 6 to 8 weeks later, the pre-orders start about the time of the video. And then 6 to 8 weeks later, the pre-order ends and the release happens. Overall, between the first press release, because to the end of to their actual release is going to be about a 3-month run, about 2 to 3 months. In the meantime, the other bands are working. So when I'm working with one band on their promo like that, there's other bands that are on their way and they're in the studio at that time and gathering artwork and getting new photos made. And they're coming after this, later. So I try to keep them where they're overlapping behind the scenes, but they're all in different stages. And that way I can handle the time it takes. If I took too many, I wouldn't be focused enough. It'd be too much. It just wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to know your limits. Yeah.
I want to help them. And I want them to help each other. This is a big thing for Black Doomba too. I wanted to do this. I said, okay, we're just us. So when bands come on the label, or before they come on the label, I kind of judge whether they'll be in this. I want to make sure they're on all their socials, really. Not, at least like 3 of them, but make sure that they're consistent about they need to be out there on all their socials. They need to be playing and I know people have day jobs and all, they need to be playing out of their hometown and, at least regionally around their states that they live around. Because what I'm going to set them up to do, hopefully further than that, what I'm going to ask them to do is to network with each other within the label and even a little bit outside of the label and help each other get shows. And that's why you'll often see Black Doomba bands out there playing on the same bills, because I've really encouraged that's important to help each other get shows, to share each other's posts, even if it's not your band. Not every one of
label
them,
mates.
but the main ones. Yeah, your label mates. Share each other's posts. It's a win for everybody.
Who's from your label?
When you share the other band's posts, then people begin engaging on your posts about that band too. You're all engaging with each other and with people that like those bands, and you're not just one thing getting 2 to 10% of whatever your Facebook is or whatever you're on. But now you're also bringing in the other band, so you're multiplying it a lot. You're magnifying your reach.
I think that people respect the opinions of bands that they like as well. So if that band says, "Hey, check out this band; they're really cool," people will listen to them, type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that would be like I don't know what you'd call it, social justification or whatever.
Yeah, sometimes
I like this guy, and if he likes this, then maybe I will too. I'm going to check it out.
Exactly. And sometimes people trust bands more than they trust review sites like us or something, you know what I mean? Because I think it comes across sometimes as more genuine when it comes from another artist. I don't know why, but that's how it comes across, I think.
Because it's all opinion based.
Yeah, exactly. You know who on your label has been really good at doing what you're talking about is Richie Randall. He's fantastic on social media. He shares everything, offers support, interacts with people. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing. Richie is someone that as a matter of fact, I kind of watch him pretty much on a daily basis in order to remind myself what I should be doing.
Yeah,
because he's that freaking amazing at letting people know what his band is doing.
Yeah, he's very good. Yeah, he actually came on our podcast when we were first starting out. We were pretty small. He was one of the first bands we interviewed was Grave Hunter, actually.
Yeah. They were just putting out the Necro-Occlusion.
Yes. Necro-Occlusion did very well. And for us, it's probably done it's in the top. It's in the top if I had to look at certain aspects of it, but it's definitely a good one. I've got more news about that one later, but not today. But it's really doing well.
Good.
It was
Awesome.
well received. It was well. I think it was a pretty album. What can I call it? You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
The artwork they turned in when I saw the artwork initially, and I was like, oh my God, this thing is just made to have a splatter.
Mm-hmm.
The artwork is a splatter. The cover art is a splatter.
Yeah, I saw the vinyl. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so you take the
Yeah.
vinyl out. I said, we've got to use exactly the colors that are in this, as close as we can. And we have to make like a 3-color splatter of it. Definitely 180 grams for the first go around. And it was probably the prettiest album. As far as like you pulling the vinyl out, looking at the whole thing, probably the prettiest one I've had. I keep saying pretty. I can't think of a better word, but it's...
It is, though. It's
It
pretty.
is. No, it's nice. It's nice to look at. It's very cool. Yeah, I mean, you've had some crazy cool album art come through your label lately. What was the there was one, what was it? Dayglow Morning. That album art is stunning.
Oh, I know. And the artist there is for Dayglow Morning, Dead Star. The artist there is Mont Doom.
Yes, he's fantastic.
He's from Italy, and I can't think of. He's done a Monolord album and a couple of other. I don't think the world's oversaturated with his art. Was one cool thing about him, but he's done plenty enough to know who he is. And I was so blown away by the Dayglow album that's who I got to do my Doomsday Deferred album. That's who also did my art.
Oh, he did that as well? I had no idea.
Right. And I know it's not one of his usual like landscapes or whatever. It's more of I kind of liked it because it was kind of thin and up and down rather than this big blow up page. And I thought, oh, that's going to be such a good t-shirt.
Yeah, that's an awesome design. I didn't even recognize his style because it's kind of different to his usual
a little
stuff.
Different for him. Yeah. I didn't want to just,
cool.
copy the Dayglow album.
Sure.
Have that same kind of space landscape because it wasn't really what I do as far as that band goes.
Yeah, one of our
that probably wouldn't fit us, but
one of our writers actually liked that Dayglow album so much that he interviewed the dude from Mont Doom a little while back. Yeah, he loves his work. Big fan. But you have who did the artwork for like Grave Next Door? That single, As Heavy as Texas. That one is awesome as well.
I know. The same guy did their. Crap! I'd have to look it up. You'll have to ask them. But people
Okay.
like that one too. I was a little hesitant at first because it didn't really have that. It didn't really have that. I had to really think about it. It didn't have that same sort of psychedelic, thing that a lot of the album covers have that I'm usually approving on the label.
Mm-hmm.
But when you think about their music, the Grave Next Door music is very put together live, raw, very upfront in your face. There's nothing atmospheric about it, really. It's just right there. It's riffy. It's, right there. And I said, this album cover really kind of gets to the point is the good thing about it. There's nothing spacey or atmospheric. It's just, here's a scene. And it kind of matches their music. But here's what really I liked about them is everything's purple. I kind of like that.
That is kind of cool.
Purple. Their album cover's purple. They even had I don't know if you saw it, but for all the touring last year, they even had they'd show up and their van was freaking purple.
I did not see that. That's awesome.
They called it the Grape 8. But they even had a purple tour van to match their purple color thing. It's crazy.
Okay, so what about the album? Because I know I'm just looking through your Bandcamp, obviously, but was it the same artist that did the album art for Cult of Sorrow that did the Bludy Gyres ones for the remix album?
Oh, for the Rope Enough for Two that had Dayglow. Yeah. It was a split. It had Dayglow Morning on one side with 3 songs, and it had our one 18-minute song we couldn't fit on our album for the other side.
Okay.
So that was all one long song. Yes, it's the same artist.
Yeah, he's got a cool style too.
I'm going to try to pronounce it as Vaclav Chayr. I'm probably not saying the last name correctly. But Vaclav has been around for a while, and he's so prolific. He just puts stuff out almost daily. here's this, available for licensing. Here you go. And just so many things. He's also done something really cool lately. I don't know if you saw that last year. He put together a card, I think a combination card and board game, or maybe just a card game.
Really?
In which he actually did individual artwork for each card.
Wow, that's amazing. I know I did not hear that. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Can you imagine the amount of work that went into making an album cover quality piece of art for each card?
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, if anybody wants to go to his site, he's usually called he calls himself Droned Artworks.
Okay.
I think
Nice.
Vaclav. I'm not sure if he uses a W or a V on that. I think his real name is a V, but I don't know. Either way, Vaclav. He's pretty cool.
We'll find it.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did the Cult of Sorrow. Oh, the cool cult. There's a story on the Cult of Sorrow artwork.
Okay.
What they turned in, first off, I just love that band. And in 2019, at the end of the year, that was the most played album in my Spotify list. So I had really listened to it a lot to outdo the rest of my Spotify list. I was like, holy crap, I really did listen to this. So anyway, but what was cool is they turned in these photos that were kind of reminiscent of 70s Hammer film scenes, and there was this sort of a hooded thing with in the woods with the main photo for the cover, and a hooded thing with like a goat skull thing. It reminded me of sort of the blood on the Satan's claw thing or whatever. And then it had these three nude ladies kneeling and doing something around the fire in front of them, doing some kind of a ritual or whatever they're doing. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, their little heinies, their little cracks and heinies and things are showing, and their unmentionable parts where some of them were vaguely showing. And I told him, I said, I'm not going to be able to make a Facebook ad with this stuff or anything.
Yeah.
I got to be able to sell it. I said, I don't want to be the guy that censors anything for the artist, but I do have to be able to advertise it.
Yeah.
So, and also the people I work with that promote things for Black Doomba, the team that promotes, some of them, they have to be able to promote it too.
Yeah.
And this is visual. So what I did is I asked him. So I got Vaclav to make an album art based on the photograph, and we did a gatefold, which was a little costly. But so now when you see the album cover, you see what was in the photo on the front. Minus we actually had to do 2 rounds of it because he still hadn't got rid of the cracks. I told him to think of Ken and Barbie. Barbie,
right.
It's the shape is there, but nothing else. And so anyway, he finally made it where it was USA passably. It'd probably been fine in Europe, but anyway. He made an art which was still fantastic. It's just missing butt cracks. I think. And so anyway, so when you open the gatefold, there's the original photo just on the inside on the left.
Oh, okay. That's
so it's
cool.
still there. I don't feel like I really actually had to censor anything that way. The artist, their vision is still there.
Yeah. It's just for marketing purposes.
Yeah, if anything, you got elaborated on, and in my opinion, probably even better than it was.
That's awesome. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about some of your projects. Maybe we should start from some of the more recent ones and go backwards. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Doomsday Deferred, the latest album from your Dyerwulf project?
Well, during that came about, I'd really started it a little bit earlier, but I kept being sidetracked doing other people's projects. And so the first song was actually recorded in 2018. Actually, but then fast forward to the pandemic. When I almost said it in a really funky accent, pandemic. Just put some oregano on that pandemic. Which is probably how somebody says it somewhere. Idiot. Asparagus. Asparagus. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. Having fun. So the pandemic brought up. Guess what? Nobody wants to come to the studio. I'm actually advising the bands to hang on and don't. I said I wouldn't release anything right now. I said this, but I said there's a good side to this, a real good side. I said this is a good time, and I was kind of talking to myself, but I told all the bands this. I said let's just hang on. Go have new photo sessions. Get your next artwork together. That always takes time, and the artists aren't necessarily in a hurry. And go record. Even if we don't really need any right now. Do it anyway. Just record for the future. Record. You've got time now. This thing isn't going to, I told them even back then, I said, this is going to blow over somewhat inside of 6 months to a year. You watch it, see. Just right now, take a little time off. Let's see what happens. But in the meantime, this is all kinds of time for you to do other things. As far as staying in touch with your audience, you'll just have to learn it's a challenge, but let's learn some new ways to do that. And people did, as you saw, they started doing live Facebooks.
Until they stopped that.
More YouTube live videos and chats, podcasts. There was all kinds of ways to reach out to people. We happen to live in a golden age of being able to reach out to people.
Yeah.
So we just had to make adjustments. It wasn't adaptions. Nothing really stopped. The ones who stopped are just people who weren't thinking outside of the box.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't release anything right now. Just let's see what happens. So I did have one band release something right in June of 2020, and it just kind of didn't do nothing. And I was like, y'all, I'm sorry. I just kind of thought this would happen. They were very insistent about wanting it out. I'm like, okay. And I'm not going to say the band's name, but I felt for them because I anyway, they'll come back up with another one, or they'll reprint that one or something. They're off from their own now. So during that time, I did Doomsday Deferred. So it was hard getting my own drummer, who I talk about all the time, lovingly. His name is Dennis Reed. Mm-hmm. He's been on several albums with me. Done a lot of playing live with me. I couldn't even tell you how many shows. I think in Dyerwulf, we just did our 54th show. I was looking on Setlist FM, and I had a couple of shows, and I saw that I counted. It was like 50-something shows, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So, but he's been with me for a while, but I could only get him because of the pandemic situation and everything. I could only get him for 3 songs on the whole album. Mm-hmm. So I said I wanted to present it as a group, but I can't really feel like it's a group effort if there's 5 drummers on the album. It's a 2-piece band. I don't feel like that's a group. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, I'm going to present this as Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf. I'm Tommy Stewart. Here's all my guest drummers. And that's kind of how there were actually 4 drummers. When I say 5, one of them was me.
Oh, really?
Yes, I ended up doing. I finished 2 drummers' drum tracks that they couldn't come back to, and then there's one track, Indiscriminate Trepidation. That's me on a set.
Oh, awesome!
Nice.
So it was awesome because I've never done that before, and I was out of, as if everything in my career hasn't been this way. If I don't have anybody to produce, then I just learn how to produce. If I don't have anybody to play guitar, I just learn to play guitar. If I don't have anybody to play saxophone, I just and I didn't have anybody to play drums, so I said, okay, then I'm gonna learn how to play drums. And I sat down and learned how to play drums.
That's sweet.
That's awesome.
It's just mechanics. I know what music is. Whether you play, think about it, like especially like say guitar to bass. There's a different feel, and depends on the style of music. But really, it's just a matter of mechanics, like a 7-string guitar or a 5-string guitar or a 4-string bass or who cares, 3-string bass. It doesn't matter. It's just a matter of mechanics and tuning. It's still music. It all works.
Yeah.
The same.
Yeah.
A key is here,
I just have to say that I absolutely loved the album, by the way. It was in my top 20 list from last year.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That means so much to me.
You should feel very proud.
Yeah, it's great.
Amazing.
I really
amazing
appreciate that.
It's sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just really appreciative that anybody would take the time to actually listen to it, and then that they would like it is even. I'm very grateful of that.
No, I think it was one of the most unique sounding albums in the style. I mean, in the genre for the year, for sure. I don't know quite what you did with the production, but I absolutely love how it turned out. I love the way it sounded. It was very different to everything else.
Yeah. Psychedelic. It was heavy. It was mantric. It was a lot of neat stuff, man. It was great.
It had like a kind of, I don't know how to describe it, like a muffled atmosphere that kind of made it sound like you were hearing it from another room, which is what I used to love about St. Vitus, like the early St. Vitus albums, which is the same sort of vibe I got from this one.
That has actually been a couple of criticisms about the album, was that it sounds too it sounds like somebody recorded in a giant warehouse. And I'm like, well, on the first album, that's exactly what we did.
That's what makes it special. That's what I love. That it sounds like that.
Well, yeah. I don't want it to be with the old days. I think I've done enough things where I did them where enough people, it was done sort of with the idea in mind that I hope that people are going to like this, and we've engineered it. We like it. We like everything that's there, but we also made it where other people will all like it as much as possible. Mm-hmm. That was sort of the Hallows Eve days.
Right.
But now that I've been around for 4 decades, and just from that, when they talk about, when they say, name your first show you ever went to, I'm like, where mine were like Jerry Lee Lewis and the Grassroots and stuff. I've been around. I've been alive a long time. I was born in the 50s.
Yeah.
So so my thinking at this point, when you get up there and you're towards, I'm not 60s. So right now I'm more interested as an artist in truly expressing myself and how I truly feel. Mm-hmm. I'm always saying that, to me, real art is when, in music, is when I feel something and I play it or present it. Then you hear it and then you feel something. Mm-hmm. So this is communication that goes
connection.
Beyond words. That's music to me. Mm-hmm. So if I want to express myself to you, then I want to express myself, not just what seems to be cool to say today by looking at what the world's doing. I don't really care what the rest of the world's thinking. So anyway, so during Doomsday Deferred, to get back to that, during that year, we were all on lockdown and we all stayed. Everybody said, "Oh no, we'll have to stay at home, work from home." And I'm like, that's what I already do. It's not going to be new to me. I work at the label in my home. When I take a break, I walk outside and do some gardening for an hour and come back in. I'm at work. When I wake up at 6 a.m. and come in here with coffee, I am at work in a t-shirt and socks. So anyway, so during Doomsday Deferred, so the meanings of the songs in there were very reflective and had a lot to do with, there was a lot of personal lyric content on there. One of the songs was about a family member of mine who was calling me in the middle of the night and having some very severe depression problems. And that song turned into being some of the lines in Not Pray to Yourself. Indiscriminate Trepidation I wrote that exactly when our capital here in Atlanta, Georgia was being stormed and there were tanks in the streets, cars on fire. And it was just people trying to scare people randomly about anything and everything. It just seemed like everybody was, like every issue was up for grab and everybody's just stomping around being nonsensically mad about everything. And that's kind of what I wrote about. Indiscriminate trepidation. Indiscriminate, randomly scaring people.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even matter what you're talking about. Then there was another one called Rolling My Own. What I wrote that about is I got so sick of hearing all these people, some I knew well, some I don't, but it's just in general, especially on social media, of people just randomly, nonsensically talking about politics left and right. And it's like, you don't know what you're talking about. Just shut the hell up, would you? You sound like an idiot. I mean, I was like, it'd be different if you guys were all like political scientists or something, but you're just a bunch of dumbasses. Let everybody know it. And I'm like, just shut up. So finally, I just this is when I kind of closed myself off and hermited up to write. And the song Rolling My Own is that's exactly. I'm rolling my own here. I want to be clear here. I'm rolling my own. And it just means I'm doing what I'm doing. Y'all do what y'all do, and y'all have fun with that, basically.
Yeah, I think 2020 was it? Yeah, 2020 was like the year when every single person on earth suddenly got a political science degree out of nowhere.
Yeah, I know. Dude, you have no idea how often I go on about this, like just at home. I try not to even talk about it. I've gotten where I barely watch the news anymore. I turn it on and get the 5 minutes of the idea of what's going on in the world, and I go, yep, someone threw a baby in the lake. Yep, somebody shot somebody. Yep, war. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I actually unsubscribed from every news channel I followed that year because it was genuinely starting to affect my mental health. I couldn't.
Oh, absolutely.
Every time I got on Facebook, it was like toxic, just all day, every day. I couldn't handle it anymore.
That's what I mean. It's not that we don't care, we don't want to be informed, but I don't need to hear it every 5 seconds all day long. Yeah. Especially when a lot of it doesn't matter. That a lot of it all matters. The issues matter, but 99% or whatever, a very high percentage of the people who are saying these things literally don't know what they're talking about. And I just don't want to hear it. It's negative. It's not productive for anybody. And it causes a lot of depression in the world for people. And it's counterproductive to whatever you really are.
Exactly. And
what you really do. Like, for instance, my craft or whatever, it has nothing to do with all that.
Right. And then what I do now is I just, every few days, I'll go through the highlights and the headlines and be like, okay, so that's what's actually happening. That makes sense. Just to keep, informed, but I don't need it constantly presented to me.
No,
it's not necessary.
And I do think about like, what is it that I could do about this thing, these kittens that just got thrown in the lake in a bag? And then I go, well, there's nothing I can do about that. There are bad things in the world. Well, I think I'll go write a song about it. That's right. What I thought, because I've been a musician since I was a little boy. Before I was even in school, my mom was teaching me piano, and my first performance was at a kindergarten.
Oh, really?
I was 5 years old.
That's
awesome.
Awesome.
It wasn't anything great, but I did sit in front of an audience of about, I don't really remember how many people were there, but I did sit in an audience, and it was a Christmas Eve thing, and I got up and played piano and sang Silent Night. I was 5.
That's awesome.
So I was already doing it. And I never really quit doing it in some fashion or form or another. I was always performing somehow through my whole life, even if it was just minor, it still was there. So I don't really know how else to be or how to react. And I'm like, I hear, what would you be if you weren't a musician? And I'll go, I don't know, dead. I don't know what it's like to not be one. I wasn't gonna. And have you ever? And you know how many people are like, you should stop and go into something else. And I'm like, it's like you've just asked a doctor to stop being a doctor and go into marketing or go into be a manager at Walmart or something. It's like that's what he is. That's all he's going to ever do. This is what I do forever and always. I'm never going to not be doing it.
It's not a phase. It's not.
No, it's been well known. It's not a phase. I think I still have people that think I'm going to grow out of it. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
No, I remember people used to always say that when I was younger. It's like, oh, all this stuff you listen to is just a phase. You'll grow out of it. I'm like, don't plan to. I want to be one of those dudes who's like in their 60s or 70s and still at gigs and stuff, ideally.
Yeah.
That's me. I still go to things I really, although I've gotten kind of particular about it, and I only go to things that I really want to go to. I don't really need to see so and so for the 42nd time. 41 was enough.
Right.
I get it. You can noodle really fast on your guitar. I get it. Okay. But sometimes there's the social thing of you're going to see friends and you're going to hang out, and it kind of didn't matter who's playing. But let's see. The next show I've got tickets to go see is Wardruna.
Oh, I cannot wait to see them. They're coming November, right?
Mine's coming in October.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing them.
I'm going to be booking here pretty soon. I'm going to start booking dates, tour dates for my band for fall, and I'm actually booking around it to where I will be in Atlanta for that date to see. That's
great. They're an incredible band.
A long time, but that's the kind of thing you'll see me at, is something probably a little unusual. You know, it won't be something that's. I don't need to see certain bands again. They're just.
They're a very special band, though, in my opinion. Wardruna. It's like, I don't know. There's something about them that makes them like they're just special. I love that band. Yeah,
they had to. I think what made me think of them is Doomsday Deferred. During the making of that, I knew that all of a sudden I wanted the sound of the production of the drums in there to be similar to what I was hearing in some of the Norwegian folk music that was intense, and Wardruna is just a great example of that. The drum sounds in there, and I was like, what are they? I started really counting the drums and those types of it wasn't just them, but they were a big part of it. I started counting the drums and going, now what exactly are they playing, and what are these beats? Oh, this is kind of interesting. Oh, they've got an extra beat in there. For why? What is this, 11/19th time or something? And I started thinking, this is really how I want this album to sound. I want all the drums to be tuned very low. I want to be full of toms. I want there to be some little bits of percussion coming and going that are so low in the mix that you honestly don't hear a lot of it till you've heard it several times.
Right.
That's what I do. That album, Doomsday Deferred, is peppered with stuff that if you listen to it on a different device the next time, you're going to hear stuff you didn't hear on this other thing.
Yeah. I noticed that with I think it was Bandcamp originally, and then I listened to a lot of your stuff today on Tidal, and I was just like, this just sounds good. You know, sounds a little bit better. There's something to it.
Yeah, there's lots of
Christmas
little things peppered in there. Lots of stuff that I just had mixed way down in the background, sometimes on the left or the right or whatever. Voices, people saying things. You'd have to, it'll come to you as you hear it over and over.
Right. And Two Trog Yomp was an excellent single, I just have to say. That was a catchy track.
That's the only one where I actually recorded the bass live.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And that was recorded live, just like I do it live when I go play. It's the second song in our set every night. And the same thing every night. So I'm using a looper there. I could have just done separate tracks, right? But honestly, I begin to think it just sounds better if I'm slightly off and I'm just kind of loopy with it and just kind of on the spur of the moment with it.
Right. Yeah.
If I'd sat there and if I'd redone the lead in it several times, I'm sure it would have been all perfect and all that. But it wouldn't have felt like I'm really meaning it if I'd done it all sterile. I just said I'm gonna actually set up this stuff. I'm gonna mic everything, and then I'm gonna actually play it just like I'm playing it live. The drummer was in the room with me. It's full of bleed over and lots of delays, so you're hearing pieces of bass slapping after other pieces of bass, and because I used 2 delays and 2 reverbs.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of harmonizing with yourself. There's one amp in there that's set up as a clean sound. So there's a low-end clean thing going that has all the mid-range and the treble rolled off of it. And then there's the other parts are distorted. And I have it coming out of 2 different switch boxes into 4 different amps. Thus the different sounding basses.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's not, and some of them have delays and some don't. So it sounds, none of it's filling. That's one way to be 2-piece, to arrange it to where there's able to be a live filling of things where you're not necessarily playing exactly what everybody's hearing. You're kind of playing before or after things, and sometimes using a looper, and you're harmonizing with yourself. So at any given point, people might be hearing 2 to 4 basses at the same time.
Damn.
That explains it.
in different
Yeah,
tones.
the psychedelic-y, like.
Yeah, that explains a lot, actually.
So all the amps are set to different tones. One, like one may be a lot of high mid range. Another one's clean and only low and whatever like that. So it's great live when I get to set the whole thing up because there's 3 stacks and 4 amps, but I hardly ever get to do it. So I'm generally just using a 2x12 combo amp for clubs where I got to get on and off the stage in 15 minutes. It's a 2x12 combo Galen Kruger, and then out of the front direct to the PA, I'm going through an Ampeg simulator.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. It all makes a lot of sense. That's awesome to know.
Yeah, and that way I can be very quick about on and off.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Which is, in most places you're playing, that's very important. Just get the hell on, get the hell off. They're like, let's go. People are
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Have you ever had like anything like malfunction and you had to like kind of like MacGyver your way through something?
oh, yeah, all the time. I never know what's going to happen. Like you're talking about 2 Trog. Okay, there's like 2 or 3 things that can happen, and they're all looper things. If I hit my drummer and I actually practice messing up. So if you hit you're playing along, you're going to lay down a little rhythm track for yourself. I've kept it simple. Bump, bump. Okay, I go 1 layer of that, and there's 8 beats of it. Then the next one, I change my tone on my bass, and then it's a little higher, and the next 8 layer on top of it, and I lay in a instead of just bump. So it's bump, 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 bump. Now, if I hit any of that wrong, when I come out of it to start doing a lead, if I tap with my foot, not exactly when the quarter note ends, then it ends up being a different timing because it's too much note or too less note. So now we're going bump, 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 bump. And we get to play the entire lead section at that time, whatever it is. And we both have to adjust to it while I'm doing my lead and while he's playing drums. So he suddenly has to hit his snare and immediately be over here doing something else because I'm missing like a quarter of a beat or something. So we practice messing up so that we're able to kind of compensate for that. Another thing that happens, and it happens probably about every 4th show, when I hit the lead to come back out of the lead, sometimes it doesn't come back out because I didn't tap it firmly enough. I might not realize it. The next thing I know, I'm actually playing the rhythm part for the rest of the song while I'm singing, and the original rhythms are still going from the lead part. It ends up being like a massive amount of the sound man's going nuts back there. I've seen them throw papers in the air. One guy did. He threw his arms.
He's like, I quit.
Went everywhere. And he was like, what the hell? I don't even know what he's doing. I didn't know what was happening until when I stopped. When I da-da-da-da-dum, and we stopped the song, ba-da-da-da-dum, and he kept going. I went, I went over there and hit the thing. Kind of, so there was like an extra 8 beats after the song stops. But I didn't know they were going to be there. It's like, anyway, there's a little bit of fun involved in that one. I never know how that song's going to go. It's different every day.
That's awesome.
It's awesome. It's a lot of fun.
Are you ever going to do a West Coast tour in the near future? Because if you do, I'm definitely going to be there.
I like that. Where are you at?
I'm in San Diego.
San Diego. I like San Diego. I have been there and played there in Hallows Eve at a place that's probably long gone.
Okay. What was it called?
Rio's.
Yes, I haven't heard of it, so probably.
It was the last show we did in 1988 in a 2-month tour. It was us and Fate's Warning.
Okay.
And San Diego was
Awesome.
our last show of that particular 8 weeks of touring. I think it was 8 or 9 weeks. And that was pretty cool. So, and we all the bands played jokes on each other that night, of course. So, I think, I remember they ordered it was Domino's back then. They ordered a pizza for us while we were on stage, and they had the Domino's guy go out on stage in the middle of their show and deliver it to the to our lead singer. Without missing a beat, because he was such a good frontman. But the pizzas were hot with greasy cheese, of course.
Yeah.
Our singer, without missing a beat, saw the Domino's guy, grabbed the pizzas out of his hands, and slung them across the front of the audience.
Oh, no.
And all of a sudden, we had these people with hot, greasy cheese on their faces, grasping their faces and going, ah! Oh, I've done anything to have that on. Nobody had cameras back then. Nobody bought, nobody had that. So it was so funny. It was not funny. It was bad, but it was funny bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty
You're
funny.
supposed to melt people's faces with music, not cheese.
Where'd you get that scar on your face, dude? Well, about 30 years ago, I was at a Hallows Eve concert.
And a dude threw pizza in my face.
Dude threw hot, steaming cheese grease on my face. What a great show. And I paid for him to do that. Get in and get that.
While you're on that topic, I didn't want to push too much about Hallows Eve because I know you've talked about it probably 100 million times over the years, but any other stories that you want to tell from that era?
Oh my God, they just kind of come to me in the middle of talking, but oh yeah, that was great. It was the 80s, and Motley Crue wasn't the only band living in a Motley Crue video. It was a time, all right. I can say that it was really fun though, being in that band, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm still friends. We're still all kind of friends, but in an aloof, distant way, because we all went on to other things.
Mm-hmm.
In our lives. And I could tell you individually, but it's kind of boring what they all went to. And I think I'm the only one. Am I? No, there's a couple that stayed. Okay, well, like, interestingly, so Tom Knight, who toured with us during the Monument tour, the 88 tours, from like April to October, he was the drummer that he's only seen on the box set. And there's a drum solo in there, and I think he's in the video for The Chance.
Okay.
That might be the only place he's in the box set. But he was with us during that summer, and he went from Hallows Eve to being the drummer for TLC.
Really?
Go chasing waterfalls. Yep.
No shit.
Huh.
So that was he was with TLC their entire career.
Good.
And he still does a lot of work with other people, and he's gotten into other things too. And he got into voiceovers. And from what I understand, if I'm not being incorrect, I know it was either 1 or 2 Emmys. Is that what you get? Yeah, Emmys you get for voiceovers. Yeah, he got 2, I think.
For do you know what they were for?
I don't know. I know he does games.
Really?
I don't know about which movies or TV shows. Probably a whole lot of them, and they're just one after the other. It's sort of like being I don't know, but he got well noted for it. And he's also done tours as the drummer for some pretty major, different classic rock things that have gone around. But I know he's done a whole lot of the urban R&B and things like that. I know he's done a whole lot of work with that. But Hallows Eve was actually the first band he toured in. And if you go look at his stuff, it's all these like TLC and whatever, Sierra, Monique, and whatever. And at the very bottom is Hallows Eve, which doesn't fit the rest of it. But we were his initiation.
That's awesome.
So he became, pretty well known in that way. We had James Murphy sat with us right after our lead singer, Stacy, quit. We'd always been looking for a second guitarist. We just had never gotten one. And we finally got one. Stacy quit, and then we finally got one. It was James Murphy, who left us to go to Death and later Obituary, and he founded Discarnate. He was in Testament for a minute. Did an album Testament, I believe. So anyway, but he never did anything with us because he stayed about 4 or 5 months, and Chuck called him, and he said, well, I guess these Hallows Eve guys are never going to find a new singer, so yeah, I'll come on and do Death.
Wow.
And so
which
went on.
Do you know which album he joined them on?
I don't know. It was, so what would be 1989? 1989 and Death would probably, maybe released in 1990. He left us in 1989.
'89 would probably be Spiritual Healing because that came out in
Yes,
1990.
it was Spiritual Healing. I believe it was that he was on it for that. So he went on, but I think, but the rest of them just kind of didn't. And for a brief while, we had Doyle Bright from Rigor Mortis was in the band for from 2007 to 2013.
That's awesome. Underrated band. Rigor Mortis needs a lot more love than they get, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. We used to talk about that all the time. About it's like we're a group of people who wish they had gotten in there a little bit more than they did.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, he did it. But the rest of them, I think, were went on to other lives and became real estate agents and things like that. But I stayed with the music.
That's awesome.
That's right.
Yeah, man. Glad you did, because it's art like that is it's hard to come by, and it's important. Putting out crazy music.
You had Chris on Bludy Gyres, right?
Yes, Chris Abamanu, he was in the last lineup of Hallows Eve also.
Okay, cool.
And then he was Bludy Gyres. And the Bludy Gyres album was really amazing. And then they had and of course we had that spillover one song that was 18 minutes called Behold Your World Now Burns.
Mm-hmm.
I think I ended up releasing like 3 different mixes of that album, of that song, because it never really seemed like it was just never quite what I meant for it to be. It was just, it seemed like it was so much more. And but Bludy Gyres was it was a bit experimental, and a lot of the songs were just playing with times and sounds, and the album has all kinds of different stuff on it. It's a little proggy and maybe a little influenced by pieces of King Crimson and things like that.
Awesome. Is there any plan for another album for that project, or?
No, we have all talked, and we've said we would do it again. But my problem with it, I'm probably more of a holdout than anyone. My problem is that I want to go play, and everybody in that band is not able to necessarily go out and play like I do.
Okay.
So I want to go do shows in other states and travel, and it doesn't have to be a lot of touring. But yeah, if you're growing off I do things in seasons. So like I've been touring Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf from October 2nd till May 28th. Now, my idea of touring is that I'm doing like 5 shows at a time. I'll do like 3 to 5 shows, come home for 2 weeks, 3 to 5 shows, come home for 2 weeks. In the course of 9 months, I end up doing 50, 60 shows, probably more than most bands.
Wow, it's a lot.
But I like to come home and take care of the label. I catch up on things I can't do on the road. I mean, I got my little notepad in the hotel room. There's only so much I can do with it. With my materials are actually here in hard drives. And yeah, I mean, you can load all the hard drives up and take them with you. It's like when you're on the road, you're actually in transit all the time, or you're barely able to sleep. You don't really have time to. So I put everything on automatic, and then 7 days later I come back and, I've got orders to fill for the label. Maybe I come home to, and stuff to do for other bands, and I just can't stay out for long periods.
Right.
But I do want to go out, and so some of the guys in some bands aren't able to necessarily go out as much as I can, and for that reason, probably not. And plus, Bludy Gyres there was a lot of rehearsal time involved in Bludy Gyres, and I'm not really a let's go jam this one out, find out what songs we got. I'm not that kind of I'm more of I'm going to record something today. The mics are up at the drum set. Let's walk back there and record something. Bop, 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 bop. Hey, 4 minutes of cool drum track. Let's go sit down and play along to it and respond to what I just recorded over there. Pull up my bass and just start playing along with it. And I say, wow, that sounds great. I like that. Okay, that's a take. Let's see. What am I going to write about? Vocals. Let me pull up my mic. What am I mad at today? And I do the vocal tracks at the same time as I'm writing the lyrics a lot of times.
That's awesome. Interesting process.
Yeah, just I don't really want to spend a year practicing 3 times a week for 2 to 5 hours at a time, and you spent your whole night like 3 times a week doing that. And I don't see that you have to do that to write and record.
Right.
For me, it's not necessary. And that was what I did like about Negative Wall. We did it very quickly. We got together and said the concept of the band is going to be sci-fi leaning. Gamma Jaloo is going to be the name of the album. It's going to have we're going to use this guy to get the cover. Let's do some photos. Let me call a guy. He's going to be here in 3 days. So the first night we already did that, had the concept for the band, and had a rehearsal. Within 7 rehearsals, we had written what we were going to write. It's ready to go. We came in, did the tracks. I said, see you to the guys. And by the 14th day, it was already sent to mastering and came back.
And you have there's didgeridoo on that album, right?
Yes. That's
awesome.
That's our drummer did that. I know. It was so odd. He goes, listen to this thing. And he's just doing it. I said, yeah, I love those things. He said, can we put that on there? And I said, well, I have a song where it's kind of supposed to take place on another planet. That might add to the feeling that you're somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. That was pretty cool to have didgeridoo there. But and then there's I got to break out the theremin again. I love playing with all these weird things.
I love theremin.
I believe on the song "Kept Death Busy" on Bludy Gyres, "Echoes of a Distant Scream." There was a theremin, and I think there was one on Negative Wall, Gamma Jaloo also. But I didn't put one on Doomsday Deferred. I'm pretty sure I don't remember one being there. I'd like to get that thing out again. I've been looking at it. I said in another interview, I was very close to being able to perform Somewhere Over the Rainbow on it. I really got, and I think I actually got through it one time perfectly. And I said, oh my God, I need to record. So the next time I pull that thing out, I'm going to video some takes of it and see if I can pull off Somewhere Over the Rainbow, because I was so close. I would have been so proud of that.
Do you know the Japanese band Psy?
No, I'll have to check it out.
Okay, they're like I don't know what it's called. They're technically like black metal, but they're also not. But they have a theremin player that's like with them all the time. And all their albums are super weird and experimental, and they've got crazy instruments and stuff. And they said they did this one press release like building up to this album hype, because they've always done like black metal. Like, oh, next album is going to be like the darkest, heaviest thing ever. And then they had like pre-orders go up and everything. People bought it, and it was power metal. And they just randomly released a power metal album just to mess with their fans.
Oh my God.
And it was really good though. It was like psychedelic and like funky and like really, really good power metal. But it was just really funny because a lot of their fans got really upset about it. Like, this is bullshit.
I'm sure they did. What was? How do you spell their name?
Sigh, S-I-G-H.
Oh, just Sigh, like that. Okay.
Yeah, they definitely like. If you like weird experimental stuff, they're one of the probably the most interesting bands out there doing stuff. Very, very unique.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna. I don't know if I like it or not, but I like checking things like that out, because when people are reaching and trying to do things a little differently, then I'm probably going to at least enjoy going through it once.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for unicorns.
Right. Yeah, there are those bands like have you heard of Aranzi Pazuzu?
No.
Okay, that's when everyone's talking about them, right? For like last 2-3 years now, they've blew up. But I don't even know what to describe them as. They're like jazz black metal, like super weird time signatures, just free flowing jazz stuff. It's very
definitely different. Like neo folk.
Yeah, neo folk stuff. I don't know. They're all over the place. It's awesome though. Very, very weird music in a good way.
What was the name again?
Aranzi Pazuzu. I can send it to you in Messenger after this, because it's easier than spelling it.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I probably that up too. That's usually when I'm doing first thing in the morning when I'm trying to get my act together. Sometimes I'm touching base with like unusual things that I don't know what they are, just to see what they are.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing about like with us with Cave Dweller, each of us admins has like completely different tastes. Like Brendan's our resident like stoner sludge guy, and then I'm much more into like black metal personally, and old school like 90s and 80s death metal. But we each have like something we'll kind of share stuff with each other and be like, check this out. Even if you won't like it, check it out. So yeah, I think it's good to have people with different tastes that you kind of share stuff with.
Yeah, it's important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
So just we're kind of coming to the end of the time here. We've got a little bit left, but Brendan always has some kind of less professional, more kind of just fun stuff he likes to cover towards the end of interviews. So I'll let him take the lead.
What?
Well, I was going to actually ask you what's the weirdest food you've ever eaten, but that might be it.
Favorite.
No, there was another podcast where the last thing they asked you is what was your favorite dinosaur?
Oh, that's funny.
And I thought it was funny. What's the weirdest food I've ever eaten? I don't know. I like to cook, and I do like to eat some weird stuff sometimes. I'm trying to think. I can't really think. That is so. Well, you're asking me something to think about. I don't know. It's probably not that weird or anything. I guess I can't think of anything.
What about if you can't think of that? What about most memorable meal you've ever had?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Start me that. Oh, there's no way. I can't even. I have so many memorable meals. There's a most memorable meal. Oh yeah, there was a Moroccan restaurant. And I don't mean you just went in and did the food. Okay, my wonderful daughter, who's grown, she's a grown lady. Anyway, she for Father's Day once, she took me to a real Moroccan restaurant for the whole Moroccan experience. Okay, the thing is, you have to be there at a certain time because everybody who's going to eat there that night comes at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you all come in and you all sit at these round tables that are you sit on pillows on the floor.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the true experience. And they bring the stuff one thing at a time. And I'm not sure what I ate sometimes. Things wrapped in grape leaves and just things. And finally the meat comes, and right about then there's some music that starts up, and a gal comes out and belly dances her way over to you. And apparently I had already been picked out and didn't know it. And so Princess, for lack of a better thing to call, I'm going to say Princess Zelda or whatever she was. She came over and picked me out of everybody to get up, and she had me like dance with her. I'm looking at my daughter going, I don't really do this. So I'm standing there trying to cha-cha with her or whatever she's doing. And then she starts opening her little thing, and my daughter's yelling, you're supposed to give her money. And I went, what? I'm like the last guy to say that. So I went, well, okay. So I got out like a $5 bill, and I tried to put it in her thing, and then she'd look at me like I was offending her. She'd kind of cock an eyebrow and frown a little bit and move away, and then she'd dance up toward me smiling again. She'd open it up. I tried to put it in, she'd go, oh, no. And she'd move away, and everybody started laughing at me, and I was looking at my daughter going, this is really, I'm actually blushing. But yeah, that was a memorable meal for sure. I think I had some kind of lamb that night.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
What do you usually like? How do you unwind after like a live performance?
After what?
Like a live performance, like you get off a show you just played, and then you're like, what do you do to like kind of relax?
We're pretty. I think in Dyerwulf, we're probably the most boring band in history, next to what it's like to be in a hotel room with, from what I understand, Jethro Tull. Or we first off, we got to get our equipment. We got to load out our equipment. I usually am sitting at the merch table talking to people and all that. We got to fold all that up. We get it all back. We go straight to our hotel room. We don't dilly-dally. We go straight to the hotel room. And when we get in there, there's 10 minutes of me pulling out the books and writing stuff down. And within a half an hour, we are in bed. We've probably had on cartoons because they're completely not serious. So we've got on Family Guy or something. Within 30 minutes, the TV's off and we're both dead asleep, and it's 2 a.m. and we're getting up at 8, so maybe even 7. There's really no unwinding to it. It's like as soon as we can get in bed, we're in there.
Nice.
And the same thing at home. When I get home, I don't even if I have played a show locally or come back home that night or whatever, I'm the same way. I just go in the house and I'm basically just pow. I'm laying on the couch, the TV's on, and I'm out.
What about like back in the 80s? What was like a post-show?
Oh, we didn't go to bed. We slept in the van on the way to the next show because there was no time to be laying in a bed. What bed? We stayed in campgrounds anyway. We either stayed at someone's house where they decided to throw a party because we're there. So we get over to someone's house after a show, and they've thrown up a keg and got pizzas. It's kind of all night long. We have left people's houses, and the sun was up. It's the next day. Those confounded birds are tweeting, "Yay, it's morning, wake up." And we're like, we're still inebriated from, I would say the night before, but really the hour before. And then we're going to drive off, probably illegally driving off. And it was pretty bad in the 80s. It was pretty bad. We'd get to the next, so we drive to the next place, and whoever wasn't driving basically just went to sleep. And then we'd get to the next place and pull it in the parking lot and sleep there till somebody was banging on the window or something. Or we'd go to a campground. Like I said, especially if we had a day off, we'd be in the middle between cities, and we would actually look for Camp Crystal Lake or, something like that. Especially, God, we stayed in some places for 3-4 days at a time. We'd go in, we just make a campfire and pull up the van, and we'd just sit there. And the park rangers, like the campground rangers, would get to know us. Our Starbucks was to go up to the ranger office and get some coffee that's in the office.
Awesome.
That was our Starbucks. So that was back in the days. Now, Dyerwulf is way too. We're too diva out for that. We Hampton Inn's what we do.
You did your time on the road like that, so yeah.
We are a little particular about our food. We're so now it's sort of vegetarian fare these days, and so in the morning we may or may not visit the breakfast area. We carry the ability to make our own sprouted oatmeal in the room, and we bring our own little wok and cook our own food and bring our stuff.
That's great.
Yeah, my drummer won't have anything to do with meat at all, and I barely do, especially when touring. It's pretty much like we're eating nuts and oatmeal and apples all day.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're not fun at all. We're boring.
That probably survive a little longer that way,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh,
easy.
these days, yeah, sure. These days, in our age group, we have to be careful of our stuff. I have a dietitian right now that I know when I'm eating all day and what time I'm eating it and how many carbs there are in it and everything.
Nice.
That's good though. I mean, you're doing it the responsible way, not burning out for no reason at a younger age.
Meal, then an hour later I take a 15-minute walk and to lower my blood sugar and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah, if you're going to tour when you're older, it's no problem touring. I think it's good for you because there's a lot of physical stuff involved and it's challenging, but that means you have to take steps like anybody doing like a sort of minorly, like an athlete or something.
Right.
Not as much as an athlete, but you got to start. You got to know what you're eating. You need to stay in decent shape. Yeah.
Right. You can't go all day without eating and then have some beers and then all of a sudden you're just smashed because you didn't eat all day. And then
I don't think the last tour we were gone 7 days. I've been home for about a week and we were gone 7 days. I think I drank one beer the whole 7 days. It was because I got set up with the merch and we got set up with everything early and it was still 5 p.m. I went over and said, I'll have one beer. They had provided, I could drink all the free beer I wanted. I didn't want any.
Right.
So I did, I had my food with me at a certain time. I wanted to eat a certain thing, but there's a lot of discipline for me. So,
Okay, quick question, man.
I enjoyed it. I enjoy having things structured and routine, and I actually kind of seek that because I think when you're a musician your whole life, there's a lot of people I want to get out of this routine. I want an excitement. I actually try to not find excitement. I've had plenty of it. What's it like? Routine. What's it like? I love that.
Yeah.
So
there's an island I like to go to, and it's hardly anybody there. It's 0.8 miles long and about 4 blocks wide. There's nobody there, and nothing happens. And there's a few little bars, and it's beachy, and you can fish, and that's the kind of vacation I like. I like to go somewhere where nothing happens.
Yeah, low key.
That's what I want. I've had plenty of the high key. Well, there's a lot of that all the time.
Right.
So, like when you're on the road, even if you're not partying, it's still go, 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 go.
Right. Is that kind of like what helped you transition into like more like doom metal and things like that versus like, back in the day playing kind of that's thrashy?
Something everybody asked that really is a pretty good question of how did you go from being thrash in your 20s and 30s to all of a sudden you're like this doom guy, that's with a doom label and doom. I go, I really was already there then as far as like my listening goes and ideas I had. But back in Hallows Eve times, we often, there was a little bit of gatekeeping of each other. Like that won't work in this band. I like what your riff is there, but I don't think that's going to fit this album.
Trying to keep it to that sound or style.
Yeah, so since it's a collective and we're a group, we're all kind of checking each other on.
Of course.
That idea you came in, we even laughed at each other to the point of like making each other mad sometimes. We'd say, how's this, man? And you'd very energetically explain your thing. Here's how it goes, like this, and then you start singing it. And the other two guys may bust out laughing at you and go, "You've got to be kidding. No. There wasn't anything like nice about it. We were kind of mean to each other about it. Like, are you out of your cotton picking mind? We're not doing that. What do you mean trash can? I brought trash can lids into the studio one time. Certain ones I picked out for their tone. And I had this whole thing and they just sat there with their mouth. They said, go ahead and demonstrate it.
Sounded fun.
And they're all sitting in the control room. And I sat out there and banged them and yelled and did all this stuff. And then a voice came over the speakers in the big room and said, Tommy, can you come to the control room for a minute? And I got told that was X. I said, no, they were like, no way. No. So all that experimental stuff and those ideas and my love of things of more of a mid-career Pink Floyd type thing and King Crimson and those kind of things that I grew up with. I always wanted to explore those kinds of ideas and other lyrics and things. I finally was able to do them once I got cleared of the thrash thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like I just decided, you know what, I shall now be doomed on this date of. It wasn't like that. It was a very gradual and natural thing that now I'm finally going to get to do these ideas I've had, some of which were actually kind of older ideas.
Okay.
Some of the lyrics, especially because I had written tons of lyrics that I could never use. I still have tons of lyrics that I haven't really found a place for. Some of them I never will. I just like what I wrote.
Yeah.
I keep a whole book of stuff. And sometimes, so when I have music written and even music recorded, I can pull out that book of lyrics and go, all right, I'm needing something. I'm wanting this to be about this thing, but I don't know where to start. And I'll look for a phrase or a collect, maybe 4 lines or whatever. And I go, I remember writing that back in 1995. Most of it's crap, but look, this one section is exactly what I'm talking about today. Let's pull that out, change it a little bit, and add what you feel now to it, and it'll become that thing.
Nice.
Brendan, you got any more there? Because if you don't, I got one I want to ask before we wrap up.
No, I think I'm good.
I forgot what we were talking about, the food thing, the Moroccans.
Yeah. Oh, we segued a lot, but it's all right. Well, so obviously it's Moroccan, or was it? I think it was more of your experience because you didn't really.
Yeah, the food wasn't really. I don't know. I've
made
had
it
some
special.
weird. I've had all kinds of food, so I don't know. I like snails. I like. I had some kind of lizard one time.
We
Weird
got into
going-
we got into this conversation on one of our other podcasts, and it's like spiraled out into way too long of a conversation. But
I'm sorry. Yeah.
no, but basically, I went on a list of all because I backpacked through Southeast Asia for like 6 months after college type thing, and I my rule was like to say no to almost nothing that I was offered to eat. So I've tried a lot of animals. Without going into too much detail.
No, I've never had any. I can imagine because Southeast Asia definitely has a whole different culture, and especially in the rural areas. I imagine you really like those things.
Yeah, I did spend a lot of time in like the countryside as well, so I tried a lot of different foods. The weirdest thing I ate, and this was accidentally, was cat. Not actually knowing it was cat until I finished eating it, but yeah.
Well, I can't imagine what that would be like. I hear. I think, from what I understand, squirrels are kind of greasy.
Squirrels, I haven't had that.
You haven't had that?
Not yet.
They're also like there's not a lot to them either, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah, I know in the Southeast U.S. in older times it wasn't that out of bounds to go shoot squirrels. I love squirrels. I actually stand outside and feed them. I'm that guy in your neighborhood standing in the yard with a bag of peanuts actually feeding the squirrels. They run up to me. If you do it enough, they'll actually start showing up. You'll open your door at 7 a.m. They're standing there.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It is. I became friends with one for about 3 years once, and he got to where he would come back, sit up on a table next to me, and I could hand them to him and everything.
That's pretty cool. So I did have one more question I wanted to ask. This is across your entire career question, not for any particular period, but of all the band, actually it's a two-part. So first is who would you consider the biggest name band that you've played live with?
I don't know. That'd be a toss-up between Slayer, Megadeth, and Motorhead, I guess.
You played with all three of those?
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay.
I think I was probably most happy to be on the bills opening for Motorhead directly. I was probably more a bigger fan of Motorhead than the other two.
Okay. And then the second one was, who was the wildest, like most rock star, lifestyle, crazy behavior type thing band that you've toured with or at least played with?
50% of the local bands in my area that I played with were immediately that's who I thought of was like half the people I know in town. I'm backstage. I walk back. That's why I don't even go backstage at local shows, is because I walk back there and they go, "Oh, you want any of this?" And I'm like, "No." I don't even go back there. And if I see people sitting in their cars in the parking lot, I don't approach the car. I know they're doing something. So I don't know. As far as like bigger names and all, I don't know. I think they were all kind of, if they were doing anything, they were kind of keeping it. I'm trying to think of anybody that was really crazy that I'd want to be around. Or I did want to be around. Let's see. I can't really think of anybody. Most of the people we played with seemed to be they were either hiding whatever they were doing or they were just very professional on the surface that I got to see.
Okay, that's interesting. Good to know.
Yeah, I never really saw any of the bigger names. We played with just about everybody you ever heard of in the 80s.
Yeah.
I never really saw anybody doing anything crazy. And I was always surprised when I look back on it now. I wish we were as professional acting as they were. Because it's astonishing how adult-like a lot of them were to be only 20, 21, 22 years old.
Yeah, I think, that kind of shows that there was sort of like that reputation and the assumption, the stigma around those bands that they were all, like drug addicts, alcoholics, party animals and stuff. I think that gets thrown around a lot more than is actually true.
Well, right. I mean, I saw a bit of it, but I think they more kept it to themselves. In the 80s, I think cocaine was really the big one. And cocaine's not a share drug. It's not like pot where everybody's passing around a joint. When people are doing coke, that you're not going to hear about it because they want it. They don't want to give it to you.
Right. Very true.
Everybody's on coke, but nobody's saying they have any when they're all standing around. So you'd never know they are on it, you know. And then I've read back, and too, I've read a lot of biographies, and I read about the people I've met and whatever, and they talk about how they could barely put a sentence together and all this stuff. And that wasn't when I met them, they were very together, and we had normal conversations. So all that was going on behind, you know, the bathroom door or whatever, you know.
Right. Interesting. Okay, so before we wrap up, I just want to leave it open to you for a minute. Anything coming up that you want to promote that you think people want to hear about?
Well, I can tell you that Grave Next Door's on Black Doomba Records, like Grave Next Door's CD just released. It released on March 18th. We have them at Black Doomba Records on Black Doomba Records Bandcamp. Just look that up and you'll find that. Coming up, I have Minerva. Their first single was just released Friday.
Ooh.
But their album will be, it'll go into pre-order April 1st, which is this upcoming Friday. So April 1st, that they go on pre-order for their CD. And then about a month later, I have Holy Roller. It'll be their CD and digital. The reason it's all CDs, bam, 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 like that, and no vinyl is there is going to be vinyl. But because of the delays lately in manufacturing and vinyl, I decided to split it up. That was a challenge. But instead of waiting for it, I put the orders in for vinyl and CD at the same time. But it's going to take about 9 months to a year to get the vinyl. So I decided to go ahead and put the bands out as CD and digital. And then basically what it boils down to is 6 months later, then we have another release. There'll be another single video vinyl. That'll be the vinyl release. And in a way, this benefits the bands because it's and the fans of those bands, the audience, because they'll get to feel like there's always something coming from that band longer than if they just had one big release. Mm-hmm. There's more of a journey to join them with.
Yeah, great perspective.
Yeah. Well, let's make it one big 6 month, 9 month journey. And then about that time, maybe they're moving on to their next thing. I don't know, but that's up to the band. But yeah, so today, for instance, I announced that I got the Holy Roller test pressings in for vinyl. And I explained it very briefly on TikTok, Instagram, and everything that this is the vinyl. Now, it's not coming out for a while. It'll be here probably in, I don't know, November, December. It's going to be a while because of the manufacturer. But their CD is going to be released on July 8th. Pre-orders will start happening in May, I think 28th. But they're coming. They're coming. Right now, Minerva is what's basically on deck at Black Doomba as far as upcoming. Grave Next Door has some future shows coming. Whole Roller's got some shows coming. There's a couple of bands I've got my eye on. There's something else coming from Grave Huffer, but we're not ready to talk about it yet. They're actually recording some vocals and mixing some guitars today. Grave Huffer is for the next release. There is going to be a next release. I am going to get to put it out.
Awesome. That's great.
I know. I'm so glad I get to because they're awesome. I love working with them, and so they're awesome.
Well, you can count on us covering that album and doing some promotion for you because we're big fans of Grave Huffer and the guys.
Yeah,
it's an unusual album. I've actually already heard half of it when we played in Joplin, Missouri. Tommy Stewart's Dyerwulf did on a bill with them. That's their home base. So I got to go to the studio and hear half the album.
Oh, nice.
I can tell you that it would be typical of me, if you know my music and what I like, to put something out like this, because this is, they're known for, this is why I signed them, is because they're known for including other elements of metal.
Yes.
They're not just death metal. They're not just thrash metal. They even threw in a little disco on Necro.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
They even had horns on a couple of songs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the next album is taking all that further.
Okay. That's
so
exciting.
They're getting a little further out there. I don't think I should talk about it much more, but God, I want to. I heard it, and I'm like, I can't believe what they're putting out. And they said, do you think people like it? I said, you're getting in my territory. They're either going to not like it, or there's going to be a lot of people who absolutely actively do not like this, and there's going to be other people who think that it's fantastic. You're going to get polarized.
Just change the band name and do something. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, let's change the band. Yeah, that's what happens to my albums. People either really like what I'm doing in Dyerwulf, or they really kind of don't. It's not for everybody. And I know that. Going into it, I know it's not for everybody.
Do you follow an artist called the Mountain King?
No.
You I think, right, Brendan? You really like them, probably.
Yeah. They have like a comic. They have they sing songs about kaijus and.
Oh my God!
They every single album they do is completely different, and they just span different genres, and they do whatever they want. But they're all concepts, and each one's like wrapped in itself.
Totally. I got to follow up on this. If I haven't already followed it, a lot of times I'll go look people up and find out I've already liked it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's happened.
I'm gonna send you a link to their Bandcamp after this. The last album. What's that? Sorry.
My drummer Dennis Reed's entire body is covered with kaiju and Godzilla characters.
Really?
It's his tattooed. His whole body is tattooed that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Mothra's one whole arm thing, and yeah. If you ever look at him closely, if you ever meet him, if you look at his arms and stuff closely, you'll go, "Oh my God, you're all that."
Wow, I have to look him up online.
Yeah.
Look.
He likes to build the models, and he goes and competes sometimes with his models.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And he's met everybody. He met like the original. He's got pictures of himself standing with the dude that who's the actor who was in the original Godzilla that was the scientist who just passed away. The actor.
I don't know his name.
Just passed away. But anyway, yeah, he's got a picture of himself with that guy. I have a picture of myself with Godzilla 2000. That Godzilla.
That's sweet.
Who was also, he was in the 2000 Millennium series. He also played King Ghidorah and Godzilla in the same movie. and he was also, check this out. I did not know this when I met him until after he actually bumped into him in the lunch area in the hotel and got to sit and have lunch with the guy and his wife. He didn't speak much English, but she did.
That's cool.
And that's when I found out he was also a Power Ranger.
Really?
I was like, I'm almost as impressed with that. I wasn't really a Power Ranger fan, but I know a lot of people were, and I'm almost like, well, you're here doing the Godzilla thing, but that's pretty impressive too.
That is cool.
Get this,
I love Power Rangers.
I didn't get him in there. He was there as his friend, but the guy who played the original Ultraman, in my picture with the Godzilla dude, 3 feet off camera is Ultraman. He was there too. I had lunch with both of them.
That's crazy.
I didn't get my picture with the Ultraman dude. And now I kind of look back and go, man, I should have done that.
And that was like unplanned. That just kind of happened.
Well, no, I was at a thing called Days of the Dead here in Atlanta.
Okay.
And they were, and Godzilla was there to do, sign autographs and whatever. But yeah, later I was just up getting a sandwich in the hotel in the lunch area or whatever. And they sat and I was sat at a table next to them, and then they looked at me and pat the table, and his wife said, he says, come have lunch with us. And I got to sit with him and not understand anything they said except for what his wife translated. But it was awesome. I had lunch with Ultraman and Godzilla.
That's very cool.
Life, what a crazy life. Oh, and then walked in, and then PJ Souls walked in and got a sandwich too, but she didn't sit with us. And I'm like, what planet am I on? Riff Randall's here.
That's very cool.
I know. It was one of those things where people are there to get autographs. So
right,
like that happens. But it was very surrealistic that we were the only people in this little sandwich shop. Don't mind me. I'm just sitting with Ultraman, and PJ Souls is asking if anybody's got any change for a 20. It's a weird world.
Okay, not to force things to end, but we are pretty much out of time with the podcast. So I just wanted to say massive thank you to you for coming on. It was amazing getting to chat to you, and we really appreciate you giving us your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and we'll definitely be covering everything that you got coming out in the next few months. So if anyone's looking for any new music, check our site, and we'll probably have some reviews up for some Black Doomba releases. And that, I just want to say thanks everyone for listening, and tune in next time.